Listen. It's the ultimate question, isn't it? The one we all quietly wonder about in the middle of the night. What is the very first moment like? That line, that invisible boundary we all have to cross someday. We hear so many stories, so many ideas, from near-death experiences to pure biology. But what actually happens in that first 60 seconds, that single minute after your heart stops beating? It's a moment packed with mystery, the biggest unknown in the universe. And it's a lot more complex than you might imagine. Think about this. Right now, as you're listening, your body is a masterpiece of moving parts. But what happens when the conductor finally puts down the baton? That's what we're going to explore, trying to separate the science from the spirit, and do it all with the respect this topic deserves. Imagine a quiet hospital room. Maybe the sun is setting, casting long, soft shadows. A person on the bed takes one last, shallow breath. In the space of a heartbeat, everything changes. The nurses and doctors call this cardiac arrest. It simply means the heart has stopped pumping blood effectively. This is the official beginning of what people often call clinical death. It's the point when there is no pulse, no breathing, and you are unresponsive. But here's the key distinction. Clinical death is reversible, at least for a few critical minutes. It's not the same as brain death, which is the irreversible end of all brain function. The clock starts ticking the second the heart stops. Right away, the body's magnificent complex system begins to fail because it's starved of one thing: oxygen. Think of your body as a car. Blood is the fuel line, and oxygen is the gasoline. Without the pump working, the fuel stops flowing to the parts that need it most. And no part needs it more urgently than your brain. In just the first 3 to 5 seconds after the heart stops, the immediate loss of blood flow to the brain causes the person to lose consciousness. You don't slowly drift away. It's a sudden lights-out moment, because the brain just can't tolerate that sudden drop in oxygen, a state called anoxia. Everything you know, all your memories, your sense of self, it all relies on that steady supply of oxygen-rich blood. When it stops, the thinking part of your brain, the cortex, goes dark first. Listen, the brain is still electrically active for a little while, even after consciousness fades. Researchers at a major university, in a 2013 clinical study, monitored the brain activity, or EEG, of patients who had experienced cardiac arrest. They found something astonishing. In the minutes immediately following the heart stopping, some patients showed a surge of high-frequency brain waves, the kind associated with intense conscious awareness and memory recall. This is why some researchers theorize that even as the body fails, the brain might be running on a kind of backup power, a final electrical storm that could be responsible for the vivid experiences people later report. And what are those experiences? This is where the scientific timeline meets the spiritual unknown. For centuries, across every culture, we've heard these incredible stories from people who were brought back from clinical death. These are the near-death experiences, or NDEs, and they follow a remarkably consistent pattern. Some people describe leaving their body, floating above the scene, and seeing their own body below. They might hear doctors talking, or see a unique object in the room that they couldn't possibly have known about while clinically dead. One possible explanation for this out-of-body sensation is a temporary glitch in the brain's ability to correctly process sensory information. maybe due to the lack of oxygen. The brain tries to make sense of the sudden chaos and creates this disembodied perspective. Then there's the tunnel. The feeling of rushing through a dark space toward an incredibly brilliant, warm light. Neurologically, this is often explained as a breakdown in the visual cortex, the part of your brain that processes sight. As the blood pressure in the eyes drops, the peripheral vision fails first, creating a kind of tunnel vision effect that the brain then interprets as rushing forward. But here's the part that is harder to explain away with just biology: the feeling of absolute peace. People who have NDEs often say they felt a profound calm, a sense of belonging, and an end to all pain and fear. The dying brain is releasing a flood of chemicals like endorphins, which are your body's natural painkillers. This sudden, powerful surge could certainly account for the feeling of euphoria and comfort. It's a kind of beautiful, chemical goodbye. Listen. Think about this. In a few seconds, the person experiencing this might be having the most intense and meaningful experience of their entire life. They often describe meeting deceased loved ones, or a figure of pure light, or experiencing a life review where they see their whole life unfold before them. Not just what they did, but how their actions affected others. I remember reading one story about a man who had a heart attack while hiking alone. He was clinically dead for several minutes until paramedics arrived. He said the moment his heart stopped, he didn't feel panic, but a total, encompassing warmth. He saw a field of bright flowers, more colorful than any he had ever seen on Earth, and heard his grandmother's voice telling him it wasn't his time yet. He described it as a place of pure, unconditional love. Whether that experience was a final, graceful neurological event or a true spiritual journey, we can't say for sure. But for him, the fear of death was completely gone. Let's return to the harsh reality of the minute. While all of this might be happening internally, externally, the body is on a razor's edge. In that first minute, a lot is still reversible. Emergency medical personnel, or even bystanders trained in CPR, are racing against time. A clinical study in 2014 found that for every minute the heart doesn't pump, the chance of survival drops dramatically. This first minute is the golden minute. If the heart can be restarted within this window, there's a much higher chance that the person will not suffer any permanent brain damage. This is why things like publicly available defibrillators are so important. They deliver an electrical shock to try and reset the heart's rhythm. After that first minute, the situation becomes more dire, but not hopeless. Listen. The term brain death is usually reserved for a situation where the lack of oxygen has permanently destroyed the entire brain, not just the loss of consciousness. This is what truly differentiates a person whose life can be saved from someone who has reached the point of no return. So, what is the answer to the ultimate question? What happens in that minute? Scientifically, we can say this: the heart stops. The person loses consciousness within seconds due to anoxia. The brain begins to rapidly run out of fuel, but it may have a momentary, intense electrical flare-up. Chemical releases cause a profound feeling of peace and well-being. And for those who are brought back, the experiences they report are overwhelmingly positive, beautiful, and life-changing. But we can also say this: The human story has always included a soul, a spirit, and a continuation beyond the body. For those who believe, that first minute is the moment of separation, the passage of the spirit from the temporary vessel. The peace that people feel is the soul recognizing its origin, its home, and the light is the destination. Science offers us incredible clues and physiological explanations, but it cannot definitively negate the spiritual possibilities. Ultimately, we stand at the edge of a deep ocean of mystery. We can measure the brain waves, we can clock the oxygen drop, but we cannot measure love. We cannot measure the soul. And we cannot truly capture that first transformative moment. The first minute after you die is a paradox. It is a biological shutdown, an emergency window for resuscitation, and for many, it is the beginning of the most incredible journey of all. Listen. We don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Maybe the beauty of that minute is that it remains a profound, personal mystery. I hope this exploration gave you some comfort or a deeper understanding. If it did, please consider sharing this video or subscribing. It helps us continue to explore life's greatest questions with a thoughtful, human approach. Take care of yourself.